Hello and welcome to video 3 of EIC, Essential Impact Coaching. Essential Impact Coaching is a series of 5 videos that will support your understanding of the fundamentals of a coaching process that brings about real and lasting change. You will, I am sure, enjoy and learn a lot from these. I am Tony Swainston and I work as a personal performance coach and organisational change consultant and trainer. My contact details are as follows, and if you want to contact me after watching any of these videos, please do so. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about supporting you and or your organisation through coaching and organisational culture change and growth. So let me start off this video by giving you an overview of the 5 videos that make up the Essential Impact Coaching series. The first one looks at defining coaching. In this I give you 3 definitions of coaching that will enhance your understanding of coaching. I also help you to understand what coaching actually is and what it isn't. And I also take this further by distinguishing between coaching, counselling and mentoring. There can often be great confusion with these. The second video looks at the 3 skills of coaching. These are listening, questioning and reviewing. And reviewing is about reflecting and clarifying. There are a number of other skills that we will look at in this video, but these 3 form the foundation of effective impact coaching. The third video, this one, looks at the GROW model of coaching. This is the model that's used extensively in coaching as the framework for a coaching conversation. Its power is in its simplicity. When you begin to use it, you'll see how effective it is in supporting a client to move towards their goal. GROW is an acronym that stands for goal, the goal the client has, reality, the current situation, options, all the possible options are looked at, and will, the actions the client will take from the possible options. The fourth video looks at the beliefs and principles of coaches and the benefits of coaching. It covers 4 key beliefs of coaches and 10 principles that coaches follow. It also looks at the benefits of coaching from the point of view of the coach, the coachee, this is the name given to the person being coached, and the organisation. The final video looks at how coaching often involves shifting or changing beliefs, and I will illustrate this in what I know you will find is both a fun and informative way. So there we go. Great stuff and a lot in store for you. And let's get going now with video 3 of Essential Impact Coaching. And to put this video once again in context, it's the third of 5 videos and it looks at the following. Firstly, the 3 spheres of influence. Secondly, the T for topic preliminary. Thirdly, the GROW model framework. And fourthly, some great coaching questions. So let's now consider what I call the 3 spheres of influence in any organisation. The first one of the great spheres of influence in any organisation is leadership. All the research indicates that the success of any organisation is linked with the leadership within it. My own personal research and experience supports this 100% as well. Leadership is about doing the right things. It's about the strategic direction that the organisation takes and about being proactive. Leadership is also about being effective. I've written a number of books on leadership. My latest leadership resource is called The 7 C's of Leadership Success, and you can find out more about this and how it can help you by going to www.tonyswainston.co.uk. Let's then introduce the second great sphere of influence in any organisation. This is management. Management is about doing things right. Leadership has already determined what things need to be done. Once again, leadership is about doing the right things. Now management can step in and ensure that these things are done efficiently. Management will sometimes necessitate a reactive approach to current situations and demands. And the third great sphere of influence in any organisation, I believe, is coaching. The reason I place this alongside the other two powerful spheres is that with coaching, the potential of people is fully utilised. Coaching generates understanding. Understanding grows a positive culture, and a positive culture guarantees great results. And so now let's move on to the beginning of the GROW model. The GROW model is the model of coaching that's used all around the world. When you study coaching, you'll come across other models, but none that I know of that are any more effective than the GROW model. And the starting point of the coaching conversation is to know from the client what it is that they want to talk about. This is the topic. You'll sometimes therefore hear the GROW model referred to as the T-GROW model. And the T then stands for topic. It's important to understand at the outset of a coaching conversation, before the 4 stages of the GROW model are started, what the issue is that the client wants to address. In a few slides' time, I'll take you through some very powerful ways of eliciting from the client precisely what the topic is that they want to discuss. It may surprise you that as a professional coach and being paid by my clients, I still sometimes have to spend time at the beginning of a coaching session working with the client so that they can have a clear understanding about the issue they want to discuss. And now let's look at the GROW model framework and indeed the 4 stages of the GROW model. Now you can see on this diagram that the 4 stages of the GROW model are drawn as a kind of cycle. So we have goal, then reality, then options, and then will. The reason for this is that the goal should link with the reality, which should link with the options, which should link with the things that the person will do, and that these should then link back with the goal. It may be at times that when the coachee has been through the cycle, they may feel that the goal has altered. In fact, this can happen at any time within the growth cycle, and this is not a problem. Coaching can sometimes reveal to a person that what they once thought were their priorities, aspirations and goals have now shifted. Coaching brings about clarity, and clarity can enable the person being coached to sometimes, for the first time, begin to see what it is that they really do want, rather than what they might have thought, for all sorts of reasons, including pressures that they may feel from other people, they should want. And this slide reminds us about something that's very important in terms of coaching and going through the GROW model. The spheres here represent the amount of time spent on the goal, the reality, the options and the will sections of the GROW model. The larger the sphere, the more time spent on this section. So in situation A, we have this. A great deal of time is spent on the reality section of the GROW model, and a little time is spent on the goal and the will section, with just a little bit more time spent on the options section. The biggest danger here is that the client's mind will have a very clear understanding of the current reality, but not a very strong understanding of the picture of the goal. This can result in the client tending to stay stuck where they are. We're drawn towards the dominant idea in our minds. If the current challenge and possible present stuckness is uppermost in the mind of the person being coached, they will tend to find it difficult to work on a way forward. We tend to be teleological, as some people term it, as human beings. We seek out solutions and we move towards a goal. We have to be prepared to help ourselves, however, to be able to do this most effectively. Otherwise, we may be seeking out the very things we don't want. For example, if I say to you, don't think about a blue tree, you think about not thinking about a blue tree in order to not think about a blue tree, if that makes sense. Difficult, isn't it? Have you ever come across someone who always thinks the worst of other people? The interesting thing is that they are able to continually find examples of people behaving badly. Why? Because they have this thought uppermost in their minds. They're on the lookout for bad things. And this is why we must spend time in the GROW model of coaching looking at the goal. In other words, the thing that the person we are coaching actually wants. A part of the brain called the reticular activating system, or RAS for short, is then continually on the lookout for ways that we can move towards the goal. Situation A also indicates that the small amount of time spent looking at the options and will, that is, the options that are chosen, could result in poor choices made. Situation B is far more balanced in terms of each stage of the GROW model. This will work far better for the client or the coachee. And so on to a brief word on each of the 4 stages of the GROW model. In terms of what they are meant to achieve, from what I've already said, this will becoming very clear to you. So there are 2 main purposes for the goal stage of the GROW model, and these are, the first of all, to establish the desired outcome of the conversation, and secondly, to identify and agree to a number of achievable outcomes within the session. The client or coachee should be very clear in their own mind what it is that they want to achieve in the session and how this fits into the overall goal. There are 3 main purposes for the reality stage of the GROW model, and these are to get an accurate picture of the problem, then to discuss and become more aware of all aspects of the topic, and the third point is for the coach to understand, that is, not to fix or to offer guidance or jump to conclusions. If you ever watch The X Factor on TV, you'll see people who have great goals, and these can be very worthy. What they fail to understand at times is what their current reality actually is. If you use a map to plan a journey, you'll look to see where you are now, your current reality, and where you want to get to, your goal. This is the same in coaching. A clear picture of the present situation, therefore, is absolutely critical. And on to the options stage. There are 4 main purposes for the options stage of the GROW model, and these are, first of all, to draw out a list of possibilities that address the goals. Secondly, to encourage the person to think and not to think for them. Thirdly, to not judge or evaluate the options. And the last point here, for this to be like a brainstorming session. The options section should take in all the potential actions that the client might take, even those that they cannot imagine that they would at present take. Okay, and there are 3 main purposes for the will stage of the GROW model, and these are to have the person being coached select the most appropriate options, and then to agree to the next steps, and then to check commitment. Coaching is not about having a cozy conversation. The client must be prepared to take action. They must be committed to this. The will section of the grow model pins them down with this. And so now on to looking at some of the great and powerful questions you can ask as a coach. Now, I've collected these from a whole range of sources. Some of them are mine as well. They all work, and they work really well. As you grow in your experience as a coach, you'll develop your own favorite questions. However, no matter who you are and no matter what the situation might be, the following questions can be used. These questions don't, of course, cover everything that you'd want to ask in the grow model of coaching. For a more comprehensive range of questions, you can refer to my publication, which is Developing a Coaching Culture in Your Organization, and you can find out more about that from www.tonyswainston.co.uk. Now, I'm going to go through these questions quickly, just reading them out so that you can reflect on them for yourself. You might find it useful to think of a challenge you have and how you would answer these questions. Imagine I am your coach. This will give you a good idea of the way the grow model works. Okay, so first of all, we want to determine the issue that the client wants to discuss. These questions help to make this clear. Think of an area of your life that you want to work on in the next 30 minutes where you want to improve, and improve how you're doing. It's likely to be an area of concern for you currently. Think of a general area to begin with, not specific. In other words, time management, fitness, healthy eating, relationships with a partner. It must be real. It must also really matter to you to begin with, to find a way forward in this area. It must be something as well that you have some control over. It must be for you, not someone else. And you can only be coached on what you can do, not what you wish someone else will do. Now, can you write down what you want to work on in one sentence for easy reference? So it should sound like, my topic is time management and I want to find some more time for me. Or, my topic is well-being and I want to have a healthier diet. Okay, so now let's move on to the goal questions. And now we want to find out from this what the precise goal is that the client has for this session. So again, imagine that I'm asking you these questions. What exactly do you want to achieve, both short and long term? Where does this goal fit into your personal priorities in your life at present? What would you like to achieve by the end of this coaching session? Can we achieve what you want today in the time available? How is this related to your long-term goal? And now we want a clear view of the current reality. So again, imagine that I'm asking you these questions and think about what your response might be. What actions have you already taken, if any, to try to reach this goal? What have you learned from that? How would you rate your achievements so far in this respect? Who else do you need in order for you to reach this goal? Who else will be affected if you reach this goal? Will there be winners and losers? And now we move on to the options section. And we want to explore all of the options that the client, in this case you, can think of. So the first question is, what could you do as the next step, or perhaps the first step, to meeting your goal? What else could you do, and what else could you do? Keep repeating this. I would keep repeating this with you. If time was not a factor, what could you do then? If resources, money, were not a factor, what could you do? If there were no history and there was no politics, what could you do then? And now we move on to the final of the 4 sections of the GROW model, the will section. And this is about getting the client, you in this case, to commit to the actions that they will take, that you will take. So the first question is, which of all the options will you choose? There may be several. How will that help you to achieve your goal? Who else needs to know about your plan? How will you inform them? What obstacles do you expect to meet and how will you overcome them? How would you score your own level of commitment to achieving this goal on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being absolutely not committed and 10 being totally committed? Okay, so there we go, and that's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed watching this 3rd video as much as I've enjoyed making it for you. I also hope that you've learned a number of things from it and that this has stimulated your interest to learn even more about coaching. And I hope that you now have a clear understanding from this video about the way the GROW model works. I look forward to speaking to you again in video 4 when I'll be looking at the beliefs and principles of coaches and the benefits of coaching. Until then, please don't hesitate to contact me. My details are here. If you wish to discuss how I can support you with individual or organisational coaching and or organisational culture change. Thank you for listening and watching, and very best wishes.